Well, thank you very much for that very warm introduction, and thank you for all that you do as CEO of the Centre for Australia-India Relations. I begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land we're meeting on and pay my respect to elders past, present and emerging. Can I welcome the High Commissioner here with us today. We could almost have a cabinet meeting here, I've got to say. We've got our Foreign Minister, Penny Wong. We've got our Trade Minister, Don Farrell, both of whom have also been able to leave Senate estimates to come here. So a particular thank you that they have. We've got the Housing Minister, Claire O'Neill. We have Tim Watts, who's the Assistant Minister for Foreign Affairs. And we've got Karina Garland, who is here, right in front of us there, who's the local member for Chisholm. This is my second visit to Chisholm in the last, it's only Wednesday, this week. I'll see you on Friday. But welcome to one and all, and particular thank you to Deakin University for not just for having us here, but for what you have done over many decades, but particularly in establishing that first campus, which I was able to announce during my first visit to India as Prime Minister. It is wonderful to be launching this new roadmap. And the great thing about this new roadmap is that it's readable. It's readable, it's practical, it has initiatives which will result in benefit for Australia, in benefit for India, but importantly as well, when you put that sum together, one and one truly makes something far greater than just two. The prospects of this are so important. There is no greater time to engage economically with India than right now. The most populous country in the world, on track to be the third largest economy in the world by the end of this decade. And in growing ways, our economies are complementary as well. So we very much aren't competitors. We are two nations that benefit from this economic engagement. What we're able to build on is the strong relationship that our two nations already enjoy, economically, culturally, and through the ties of education and sport. A few years ago when I was in India, as an opposition member, I led a delegation there, and I launched the Alumni Association, which is so big. I did that in New Delhi. Importantly, our relationship is a relationship between people, and what has grown is in no small part really a product of the contribution of the Australian Indian community, which is of course particularly strong here in Melbourne, but also in my home city of Sydney, but right throughout Australia. The diaspora is making an extraordinary contribution to our nation. It is a dynamic community. For generations, you have added so much to what Australia has become that you are very much an integral part of our shared ability to imagine a bigger future. And just as you're important part of who we are as a modern multicultural nation and what we can yet become, you are a powerful strand in the bond between the land that is your home, the land of your heritage. The significance of India cannot be overstated. Through its long history of achievement, the richness and breadth of its people, and the staggering vastness of its potential, India is a giant on the world stage, a giant that continues to grow in stature. I've had the profound honour of visiting India twice so far as Prime Minister. Visits elevated, I must say, by the hospitality of Prime Minister Modi and the warmth of the Indian people. Importantly, I was part of that process as well, the business community, both for my bilateral visit, but also for the G20. I came with many people, and it's great that so many leaders in the business community, including from the VCA, here with us today. I've also had the privilege, of course, of hosting Prime Minister Modi here in Australia. I've always had an interest in India. My personal relationship with India goes back to 1991, whereas obviously a much younger man. I spent over a month backpacking around the country. And one of the things that I say is, if you want to understand India, get on a train. Or get on a video bus, although I don't advise doing it at night. We travelled around, we arrived in places like Jaipur and Udaipur and went on camel safari in Jaisalmer, did all sorts of things that when you're younger you can do with a sense of adventure, looking for accommodation and engaging. We even went from Agra to Jodhpur, I think it was. We somehow managed to hitch a ride, paying for petrol along the way, stopping at wildlife parks, and it was a fantastic experience. As I've returned to India over the years in both a professional but also a personal capacity, I've seen firsthand the economic development in India. It is quite extraordinary. I led another delegation there it was before we were in, would have been 2018, I think. And I must say, our High Commissioner went into a complete spin because the delegation was going down to Agra. It was a very broad delegation. It included Pauline Hanson and included a range of people who you wouldn't normally expect to be on a visit like that. And I had seen as much as magical as the Taj Mahal is. I've been there not that long before. I've been there a couple of times, but I hadn't been to Swaminarayan and Akshardham there in New Delhi. And my Indian friends said to me, you must go and visit this temple, it's extraordinary. So I got the metro by myself out there. The new metro that didn't exist back in 1991, let me tell you. And here was this Australian frontbench MP with, I've still got great photos. Of course, I had a South Sydney Rabbitohs cap on. I stood out a bit on the metro, to say the least, but went out there and then walked to the temple and had a wonderful time by travelling by myself. One of the things I've always found in India, if you're looking a bit lost, someone will help you. And if you look like a tourist, which I obviously did, people explaining to me the meaning and the history and everything else. It was quite a wonderful occasion. So I got back on the metro and headed back, and our High Commissioner was very relieved that I actually had a very enjoyable and safe time. India's economic development is extraordinary, and I've travelled a fair bit in India. I've spoken with Prime Minister Modi about making sure that the Quad meeting that will take place this year that he'll host, I've given him a list of places I would like. I've had discussion with the High Commissioner. I want to go to places I haven't been, so I've been to Hyderabad and been all around Rajasthan and Gujarat and Mumbai and lots of India. But we will hopefully work it out between us to work our way through this. Both our nations have a chance to make our collective future so much brighter. It's a future that calls on us to keep nurturing and improving the bond between our nations in the present, never pausing to just rest on our laurels, to be satisfied with where we are at this point in time. India is already Australia's 5th largest two-way trading partner and 4th largest export market for goods and services. It's a trading relationship enhanced by the Economic Cooperation and Trade Agreement, which has already saved Australia $300 million on goods imported from India. Since the ECTA entered into force, almost 200 Australian products have been exported to India for the very first time, or reintroduced after a long absence. Agricultural exports have grown substantially, increasing by 146% since we came to government. And there's been a similar growth in iron and steel exports, increasing by 189% over that period since we came to government in 2022. What this roadmap does is give us a detailed direction to the greater realisation of the potential which is there. Successfully tapping that potential will be good for Australian business and for Australian consumers. It will help secure our supply chains in an uncertain world, and it will create jobs and growth. The roadmap is a guide to seizing these opportunities that come from India's economic rise, one that has shaped and informed the knowledge and experience gathered from 400 consultations took place here in Australia as well as in India. It identifies the 4 key sectors of significant potential: clean energy, education and skills, agribusiness and tourism. Through the roadmap, we're delivering for Australians by finding paths towards the better future we know is possible, and crucially by providing funds for them. We begin implementing the roadmap today by launching the new Australia-India Trade and Investment Accelerator Fund that was a recommendation of the roadmap, to create an even better enabling environment for Australian firms, small, medium and large, to seize new commercial opportunities which are there. And we're expanding our flagship Matrix Grants program, committed to enhancing our people-to-people, business-to-business and cultural links. Australia's relationship with India is stronger, deeper and more consequential than it has ever been. Much more to come. What is truly exciting is the sheer scale of the opportunities in the near future if we get things right in the present. And the fact that this is good for Australia, but also good for India is recognised. It calls on us to focus and accelerate our efforts and to draw on our country's strengths. We're building a better future for Australia, a future in which India can and will play a very significant role. With this roadmap, the way ahead looks a lot clearer. Thanks for having me.